everyone. This is Gail, and welcome to Overcoming the Obstacles tonight. We are doing an online Bible study on Martha. She's part of the Martha and Mary siblings, also the sister to Lazarus. So let me tell you a little bit about myself real quick. If you haven't been here before, first I invite you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And my name's Gail. I'm a former pastor, and this is dear to my heart. We're going through a Women of the Bible series. And I'm here with Stellar Piper. You can.
Oh, am I introducing myself? Okay.
Always.
I'm Stellar Piper. I'm Gail's daughter. I graduated from seminary in 2014, where I studied theology and the arts. And since then, I've served as choir director, led Bible studies, and I've even preached a few times. And they even asked me to do it more than once, so it couldn't have been too bad.
That's true. I would say.
And now I'm here.
I would hope anyway. So, welcome. So we're bringing two different perspectives into the Bible study. My perspective is an old woman's viewpoint, which I'm not that old. I'm actually Gen X. Please don't confuse me with boomers. And Stellar Piper over here is a millennial. So we're coming at this from two different perspectives, and hopefully that will lend some insight that we have here at our Bible study discussion. And we welcome everybody that's here. Women's Station Channel has joined us. So hi, welcome Women's Station Channel.
Hi.
All right. Now we have got some Bible questions on a link. If you'll go down to the description box, you'll see the Bible study questions that we're going to be going over tonight. You've got, the link is free and it doesn't change. We're just adding each section because we've done a few Women in the Bible's discussions so far. And so we want to make that link freely available to everyone. There's no catch or anything. So click that. It'll open up the Google Drive document for you. And we've also got a free prayer journal also linked down below. Again, that's a Google Drive link, and it'll just open up for you. That's our gift, our thank you to you for being here.
And if you have any questions about how to access those things, feel free to drop the question in either the chat box or the comments.
Yep. So there we go. And Stellar Piper, you just dropped a couple of links here.
I sure did. I dropped the links to the scriptures we'll be looking at today.
Awesome. That's a big help. If you don't have a Bible, then definitely there's a lot of good versions online. And Stellar and I usually wind up using different versions. So the one I've got tonight is the NIV. And the links that you put up are what?
NRSV. Sorry, I can change it.
No. It's okay. Because the best Bible is the one you got in your hand. So quick, some background about Martha and Mary. We're going to mention Mary some, but this is really on Martha. But it is the Martha and Mary's in the Bible. So if you go to type in Martha in the Bible, just on a general search after this study for more info, you may see Martha and Mary. So don't let that panic you at all. So just some quick background. Martha was a resident of Bethany, and that was a village near Jerusalem. And along with her siblings, Mary and Lazarus, she was a friend of Jesus. So in this passage, we're going to see Martha welcoming Jesus and the disciples into her home while Mary sat at Jesus' feet and listened to him teach. So there was a whole lot of things going on, and Martha was really, really busy, and we'll talk about how she responds to that, and we'll talk about Martha's faith and service. So it really teaches us the importance of hospitality and service, as well as the importance of balancing our service with deepening our relationship with Jesus. Basically, we should strive to serve others with joy and generosity, but without the expense of neglecting our own spiritual growth. So I actually wrote that description, and it's down in the description box. So if you come back, you all will have that link down below. So, okay. Did you want to start out with this passage on Luke, or did you want to start out in John?
Let's see. I think the questions go through Luke first.
Okay, so you want me to read Luke? Is that what we decided?
Did we decide?
Okay, I'll read Luke.
Okay, I'll read John.
Okay, so it's Luke chapter 10, verses 38 to 42. So it's a real short passage. So, at the home, and again, I'm reading NIV, right? So, at the home of Martha and Mary, you'll see that tagged possibly in your Bible like that. As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened their home to him. She had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. And she came to him and asked, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me." "Martha, Martha," the Lord answered, "you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her." So that is our passage, Luke 10, 38 to 42. Wow. I can just imagine Martha being busy, trying to get her home ready. And there's Mary, not helping. She's just talking to the teacher. Wow. I can see where Martha would have a hard time with this. You know, after having to ready our house for Christmas visitors, how many times, and everybody scurrying around to get that done. And, you know, 'twas the night before Christmas when all through the house, everything was scurrying, including a mouse, had we had one. You know, She must have felt that way too. What do you think, Stellar?
I think you're right. And I have a sister, so I can just hear the frustration in Martha's that she had to have experienced. Because here she was trying to do all of the things, and her sister, who was supposed to help her, was not.
But on the other hand, here's the thing, that we got a big hint on this in verse 38. They were on their way. He came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. So it wasn't Mary's home. She just needed help getting it ready. So, that kind of changes things a little bit. You know, if you're at somebody else's house, you may be hesitant to dive right in because you may not know where everything is. Right?
Yeah.
Do you think you could find everything at your sister's house?
Probably not.
Or yours?
Well, mine's a lot smaller than hers, so
that is true. That is true. So I see Martha being pretty stressed and pretty overwhelmed in this. But also, I'm looking at, it says, looking down in my study Bible notes here. Says she opened her home. The opportunity to offer hospitality to a famous teacher was considered an honor. I think that would be the case today, too, if you have somebody famous come to your home. Yeah. Like if Dolly Parton came into my home, I would want everything spick and span and perfect. All the food and everything. Because that would be a huge honor. And then Mary was sitting at his feet, and it says, people with larger homes, as this one must be to host Jesus and his disciples, could sit on chairs to recline or sit at the teacher's feet. However, to sit at a teacher's feet, however, was to take the posture of a disciple. Although women could hear Torah taught in synagogues or occasionally even listen to a teacher's lectures, they were not taught by rabbis in their schools. Boys were schooled in reciting Torah, girls were not, despite some rare exceptional women who learned Torah in a family setting. So it was really a big deal for her to sit there, and one of the rare times to get to have the spiritual teaching. It said that Martha was distracted by all the preparations because women were expected to fulfill the domestic responsibilities. Martha's behavior fits the cultural expectations, while Mary's violates it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
So, and then it says, against cultural expectations, Jesus affirms Mary's choice more highly. A believer can have no greater role than being Jesus' disciple. So he saw it was the better part. And I think this helps us understand that it was a better part on many levels because you're breaking these societal norms and learning from the teacher when women didn't get to do that. So yeah, I can see how Mary would not expect that kind of behavior from Martha, that she would expect Martha up and helping her even more.
Other way around.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Martha would expect Mary of helping her. So yeah, I can just, as somebody who's gotten the house ready for holidays, like I said a minute ago, I can just imagine how she'd have this huge honor of Jesus coming to stay with her and trying to get everything ready for him, because it wasn't just Jesus, it was Jesus and the whole crew. So she's all of a sudden feeding and caring for, all these people.
Yeah, it's no wonder at all that she was distracted by her many tasks, as the NRSV puts it.
But she did it.
But she did.
She did. She got it done. And hospitality was so important then. And she honored that in a big way. So, all right. Stellar, what you got? You're going into John, right?
Yep, I got John 11, 1 through 6.
Okay.
And then we're going to skip down to 17.
Okay. And I'm going to use your link for this one.
Okay.
Okay.
Now a certain man was ill, Lazarus of Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. Mary was the one who anointed the Lord with perfume and wiped his feet with her hair. Her brother Lazarus was ill. So the sisters sent a message to Jesus, Lord, he whom you love is ill. But when Jesus heard it, he said, This illness does not lead to death. Rather, it is for God's glory, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it. Accordingly, though Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus, after having heard that Lazarus was ill, he stayed 2 days longer in the place where he was. And skipping down, skip, 17.
Okay.
When Jesus arrived, he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Now Bethany was near Jerusalem, some 2 miles away, and many of the Jews had come to Mary and Martha to console them about their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went and met him, while Mary stayed at home. Martha said to Jesus, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know that God will give you whatever you ask of him. Jesus said to her, Your brother will rise again. Martha said to him, I know that he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. Those who believe in me, even though they die, will live. And everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this? She said to him, Yes, Lord. I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, the one coming into the world. When she had said this, she went back and called her sister Mary and told her privately, The teacher is here and is calling for you. And when she heard it, she got up quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet come to the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. The Jews who were with her in the house, consoling her, saw Mary get up quickly and go out. They followed her because they thought that she was going to the tomb to weep there. When Mary came where Jesus was and saw him, she knelt at his feet and said to him, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who came with her also weeping, he was greatly disturbed in spirit and deeply moved. He said, "Where have you laid him?" They said to him, "Lord, come and see." Jesus began to weep. So the Jews said, "See how he loved him." But some of them said, "Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying?" Then Jesus, again greatly disturbed, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone was lying against it. Jesus said, "Take away the stone." Martha, the sister of the dead man, said to him, "Lord, already there is a stench, because he has been dead for 4 days." Jesus said to her, "Did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone. And Jesus looked upwards and said, "Father, I thank you for having heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I have said this for the sake of the crowd standing here, so that they may believe that you sent me." When he had said this, he cried with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." The dead man came out, his hands and feet bound with strips of cloth, and his face wrapped in a cloth. Jesus said to them, "Unbind him and let him go."
Okay. So Martha, back in verse 28, back in verse 27, said, "I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, who has come into this world." And then she questioned, when he went to raise Lazarus, she's like, "No, you can't do that. He's going to stink."
I mean, there wasn't any embalming like we do today. It was the ancient Middle
That's
East.
true.
So there probably would have been.
Yeah, but wouldn't you trust the Son of God to take care of that odor? I don't know.
would trust the Son of God to take care of it. I would not trust the Son of God to think about it.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. All right, well, I'm going to scoot on over and let's look at the study questions. And again, if you were not here, if you missed it, those study questions, there's a bit.ly link down below where you can access those study questions. That's a free link. We just do this to make it available for you all. We've been doing several of the Women of the Bible studies, and we wanted to give you the link so you would have the questions for now or later. So, all right, question number 1. I'm also going to put this in the chat, and do toss in any answers or insight that you may have. So, question number 1. What? Sorry, Stellar, did I cut you off?
It's okay. Go on it.
Okay. Read Luke 10:38-42, which we did a minute ago. The story of Martha and Mary. What is happening in the story, and what are the main characters doing? Just quick recap. They've been invited to Martha's house, Jesus and his disciples. Central figures are Jesus in the story, his disciples, and also Martha and Mary. So in that story, they are running around, and Martha is trying to make preparations and to get things ready for Jesus and his disciples. She's got a whole house full of company that has descended upon her. It's an honor, okay? It's an honor.
Yeah, she's not just welcoming Joe Blow from down the street. She's welcoming some very honored guests.
Right. And so she's got all these things to get ready. So she goes to Jesus. Mary's just sitting at Jesus' feet. She's not doing anything, at least not to Martha's POV. And Mary's just laying there at Jesus' feet, listening. And she goes to Jesus, who says that Mary has chosen the better path, and he's not going to take that away from her. And it's okay for her to be there and study and learn, even though societal norms were of that day were against women learning. So that's what's happening in the story and what the main characters are doing. Did I miss anything, Stellar?
Yeah, according to society at the time, Martha was doing exactly what she needed to be doing.
That is true. Thank you for catching that. So, question number 2, put that in the chat. What can we learn from Martha's actions and Jesus' response? Oh, let me put the first question up too. And question number 2, what can we learn from Martha's actions and Jesus' response? Well, we can gather that Martha was very much expecting Mary to help because that was the societal norms of the period. But we also see this willingness to approach this famous rabbi, this teacher. And she didn't go to Mary, even though Mary was at his feet. She went to the rabbi and she's like, hey, can you get her to help me? So she very much had the societal norms and also the confidence to be able to go talk to Jesus. And Stellar Piper is making funny faces. So what are you doing?
Oh man, I was just thinking about those times as a child. Hey Dad, tell Sam to do X, Y, or Z.
Sam being your sister.
Yes. And I just can't help but think of that and Martha and Mary in this situation.
Okay. And we don't know. She may have asked Mary to help her, and Mary didn't. We don't know that part. It doesn't say. It just says she went to the teacher. But, okay, you talking to your dad and trying to get him to get your sister to help you is a pretty good analogy. It's kind of close. But it also, there's a closeness there. There's that closeness. And you had the confidence to be able to approach your dad just like Martha did.
Yep.
So, and of course, Martha was hoping for another set of hands in the kitchen.
Martha was not hoping for the answer she got.
No. But she wanted the hospitality taken care of.
Which wasn't wrong. Mary just did something better.
And that also fit in with the societal norms. And even today, if we have a group of people coming over to our house, I'm going to look for some help.
Mm-hmm. I would too.
So, yeah. So let's look at number 3. And we have, give me just a second to get it posted. So that way you all will see it in the chat and on screen. Read John 11:16. I've got math.
11, you hear 6.
Now. Just bear with me. Read John 11:6. Read John 11, 1 to 6, and then 17 to 44, which Stellar Piper just did. And there is a reason why she did it instead of me. What role does Martha play in the story, and how does she respond to Jesus? All right, Stellar. You read it. You take it away, girl.
Well, Martha's kind of the instigator in this one. Hang on, let me flip back.
Okay, I'm going to share the screen too, so they can see it while you're flipping back. All right.
Okay, the sister sent a message to Jesus, but Martha is the one that went and met him. We know Bethany was near Jerusalem and only about 2 miles away, but that's still a bit of a walk for Martha to go meet Jesus. He wasn't exactly around the corner and she was leading him to the house. No, she went a ways. Um,
But she also felt like Jesus could help her and heal
yes, she did.
Lazarus.
But even at that moment, Martha, Lord love her heart, um, Martha said that she knew that God would give Jesus whatever he asked. And but then later on, she's like, "But Lord, there's going to be a stink." So she almost got it. Almost got it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because she recognized that God would give him whatever he asked, and she also recognized him as the Son of God.
Yes.
And then kind of faltered just a little bit, but that is a totally human thing to do.
It's a totally human thing to do.
You know, again, societal norm of the day: dead people stayed dead.
And moreover, there was a belief in the time that basically a waiting period for 3 days to make sure the person was really dead. So by waiting the 2 days to leave Jerusalem, Jesus basically waited out that waiting period. So Lazarus would be definitively, by the standards of the day, deceased.
Definity and legally.
Yes.
Right. Okay. And this says the immediate family's first week was to be spent in mourning.
Which, fair.
Yeah. So, next question we've got. What can we learn from Martha's response to Jesus in this story? There it is. What can we learn from Martha's response to Jesus? I think number one, don't be afraid to take your problems to Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Don't be afraid.
Go ahead.
Don't be afraid to take your problems to Jesus and be open to the unexpected.
Be open to it. I'm glad you didn't say expect the unexpected, because it's unexpected. So, like, how could you expect it?
Exactly. I hate that phrase.
Kind of like when a friend of mine a couple of years ago, they were looking at insuring their house and they were going on vacation. And the husband took care of the insurance, and she found out that he had maxed out and taken all the insurance that he could a year or two before, because that's just him. And she was talking to him, and he said, well, he did it because something unforeseen could occur. And she told me, she said, she looked at him and said, what kind of unforeseen things are going to occur? And he responded by saying, well, I don't know. That's why it's called unforeseen. So, yeah, that really happened. And so here we have the unforeseen, the unexpected. And I'm glad you said be open to it instead of expecting it. Because I think that when we're expecting something, then it takes away from the novelty of it being a surprise. Whether we're expecting a present for Christmas or expecting a bonus in our paycheck, because, a lot of us, if we find out we've got a bonus in our paycheck, we've already spent it before we actually get it. And we get stressed out. And we're waiting for that to come in because we know what we're going to do with it. So we start getting worried and stressed. But if somebody walks up at work and says, hey, you all did a great job, here's $50, I get pretty excited about that.
I'd be super stoked.
Yeah. And part of the reason why we get super excited is because it's not expected.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Stellar, what do you think we can learn from Martha's response?
The best thing to do isn't always what society says it is.
Ooh.
I know that's going back to the Luke passage, and we're kind of talking about John, but
Well, we're talking about the whole thing, so.
Well, the best thing to do isn't always what society says.
Wow.
You gotta be willing to be a little weird, a little different.
Okay. And the last question, what are some practical ways we can apply the lessons we have learned from Martha's life to our own lives? I think one thing that what you just said was you can break societal norms.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the best thing to do is to, and I'm paraphrasing you. So, yeah.
But you've also got to have the self-confidence to know.
That's true.
And to trust your own judgment when that happens.
That's true.
Otherwise, you'll be hanging out in the kitchen with Martha, which isn't bad.
That's not bad. But there are sometimes, like, when we're talking about breaking societal norms, it's just been within the past several years, and some people are still having a challenge with it. For like women in medicine, for example,
yes.
For a long time, women were nurses. That's how nurses got started. And now women are physicians. And that's kind of breaking the societal norm from several years ago. And by the women doing that, they opened the door for other women to step through. And so I don't think we're still there yet, though.
We're not. We're not.
But it's happening. And that's one of those times when it's okay to break societal norms. It's okay to do that. So definitely, I think a lesson there.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I think being confident in what you're requesting from God is as much as we can be confident. We talked that Martha had the confidence to go to Jesus and try to get him to get Mary to help him. And she had the confidence to walk miles to try to get help from her brother with the confidence that Jesus could make the situation better, if not heal Lazarus, because Lazarus was already dead.
One of my professors always encouraged us to pray with chutzpah and pray expecting God to do something. God may not do what you expect, but expect that God will move and pray like that.
And I have to wonder if Martha expected Lazarus to be healed, because she said, Lord, if you had been here, my brother wouldn't have died. But I know that even now, God will give you whatever you ask. So it's like she's kind of hedging her bet almost,
Almost, yeah.
Like, if you'd been here, he wouldn't have died. But since you're here now, I know that God will give you whatever you ask. Oh, wait a minute. We can't roll a stone away because...
I kind of wonder if that's just a moment where Martha's mouth got ahead of her brain. Because I've had those moments.
And maybe that's one of the lessons that we can learn from her is don't let your mouth run faster than your mind can keep up.
Lord, I try.
Yeah. Yeah, it takes a while to learn some lessons, Stellar Piper. I'm still working on that one, too.
I'll get there eventually.
I believe you. I believe you. I believe you.
It may not be this side of glory, but I'll get there eventually.
So, okay, we've got hello and good evening host and panel guest from Michael the Realist. Michael, welcome.
Hello.
Welcome, welcome. So we're discussing Martha and Mary with the questions that are through the link down below. We're on question 4. What practical ways can we apply the lessons we've learned from Martha's life to our own life? Practical way, practice, I think.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Yes, I fully agree.
So practice, learn. take the time to study maybe and figure out what is the most important thing that has to be done.
And for that, you got to be in tune with the Holy Spirit.
True.
And for that, you got to read your Bible and pray and all that.
And another thing too that I think we should mention is that Martha was playing to her strengths. Mm-hmm. Martha was doing the hospitality as part of the gifts that she had. And I think that there's a lot to be said for that. I mean, her comfort zone and her gift was taking care of feeding all these people that had suddenly descended upon her. So I think one of the things that we can do that's practical in our own life is to identify our strengths and use them, exercise those strengths. No?
Yes, I agree with you. We should be aware and exercise our strengths, but also be willing to step out of our comfort zone.
Well, and I have a feeling too that she did that by going to Jesus, saying, "Hey, my sister's just at your feet, just kind of soaking up what you're saying, but I need you to help her." I mean, there was the confidence there, and there was the familiarity to be able to do that. But still, I think that going to him was a way of moving her out of her comfort zone, maybe, and going to get him when Lazarus had passed away and was sick and then passed away. I think that would have taken her out of her comfort zone a little too.
Yeah, probably.
This was also a time when women didn't go places by themselves, and it said that Martha went out to meet him. Also, cultural norm, she was expected to stay home and mourn for the first week after their loved one's death. And clearly, she wasn't at home.
Yeah, no, she didn't.
Clearly. She was out looking for Jesus on the road. So we see Martha's faith in action that way. And I think that, your comfort zone is part of following that societal norm. And
yeah,
she didn't. Also, down below, I made the point that her lesson teaches the importance of hospitality and service combined with balancing a relationship with Jesus, that we should strive to help or serve others with joy and generosity, but not at the expense of putting our own spiritual growth aside. For me, that's the big takeaway. What do you think, Stellar?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
I do too. I mean, I really believe that. So, anything else that you want to add, Stellar? Because I think I've gotten.
I think I'm actually say on this one for now.
Okay. All right. Well, Michael, thank you very much for coming in, and Lori with Women's Station Channel, thank you also for being here. Appreciate both of you. Hey, don't forget to give us a like on the live stream, please.
And subscribe if you haven't.
Subscribe if you haven't. So thank you so much for coming in. Also, I want to take just a minute and pray for the channel. Does anybody have anything specific? Do you have a prayer request? I'm going to give you all a minute to type that in just in case. Also, I do have a prayer request. Where did I write that down? Okay, there is a woman, I can't tell you her name, but she's having some challenges with her son, and she has asked us to pray for her. So, there we go. All right, anybody? Okay. All right, so let's say a quick prayer. Lord, thank you for us gathering here, and thank you very much for the people that you've sent to watch this, for Michael and Lori and for the others. We just thank you for the honor of meeting them. And thank you for the honor of us being online. Lord, we would ask your blessings upon each person and upon this channel. In your name, amen. Thank you all. And we will talk to you all next week at 8 o'clock on this channel and do the next Woman of the Bible. And if you all have any suggestions on somebody that you want to see us cover, maybe sooner rather than later, drop that in the comments down below or come over to our Facebook group and drop it down there. All right. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Stellar Piper. Have a great week, and we'll see you Sunday.
Bye, everybody.
Eastern time right here. So good night.
Night, everybody.